Welcome, everybody. John Aravosis here, Monday, September 9th, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S., 6 o'clock Western, Eastern, no, 5 p.m. Central Time. I'm forgetting where I am. I'm in Chicago. Welcome, everybody. Let me get my chats. There we go. Prioritize your chat messages. There we go. TikTok is ready to go. I created it early. So give me a sec here. And then we are ready to rock and roll. All right, TikTok, mirror, boom. All right, excellent. Good afternoon. Oh, I was going to say good morning. Funny story there. Anyway, little lipstick, chapstick. I'm on muscle relaxants today, so all they're doing is confusing me a little, to be honest. Not really a happy drug, just a confusing drug. But anyway, yes, I was I was weeding in the garden. Simply bent down to pick up a stick that I'd cut, a weed, and my back went. Anyway, thank you, Jorge. And my allergies are, of course, driving me crazy. I'm going to guess the air quality in Chicago is probably iffy today. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here going, that'll be fun if I've got to do my inhaler today, too. Just to add to the fun of the muscle relaxant. Then who knows what I'll be like. A muscle relaxant and an inhaler in one day. Thank you, Cole. What else we got? Jorge. Thank you guys for the gifts. Anyway, welcome, everybody. But yes, so I'm on my little, thank you, Alan, my little muscle relaxant for pulling my back this weekend weeding. But it was, the worst part was I had the little stick. Thank you, Kim. The little cutting thing you use to cut branches. All I did was cut something and go down to pick it up. And I went, and my back went, So, yes. Anyway, so yes, I did take a painkiller, a muscle relaxant right before the show started. So it's just they just confused me. Anyway, thank you, Martin. So I'll be good tonight. I'll be a little off, but I'll be good. Thank you, Marcy, for the gift. Vodka Red Bull, exactly right. My inhaler and the muscle relaxant. Thank you, Chezek. Oh my. Hey Peter, we're gonna get to Ukraine in a second. It was, I think it was Saturday. I'm trying to remember now. No, it was Friday. I pulled my back Friday afternoon. That's why I canceled the show, because Friday afternoon I was dying, took the muscle relaxant and went, I can't do my show. I'm going to die. Thank you, Brian. So it's feeling improved right now, but it's still, I'm literally on the muscle, on Flexerol or whatever the generic's now called. Cyclobenz is something. Anyway, guys, welcome. So let's get talking. Yes, tomorrow night is the presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. We'll be watching those. What I'm going to do tomorrow night, excuse me, as a thank you for our paid subscribers, we're going to do a subscriber-only show for the debate. Again, I've got to do these kind of things because I got to thank the folks who are paying the bills. I've got to find ways of thanking them, so we're going to do that tomorrow night. Anybody who wants to join us for that, you are free to become a paid subscriber. Thank you very much. Thank you, Running on Coffee, for the gifts. Randy, Fred, and Hazel. Mark Starr, Chezak. So tomorrow night it starts. I've got my notes here at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern. Thank you, Charles and Succeed. So that's 9 o'clock New York City time or Washington, D.C. time, 8 o'clock Chicago time. California is 6 o'clock p.m. in California. The debate starts. We'll be watching it. And pretty much like what we did last time, I think. We'll be watching it. But like I said, TikTok gets weird when it shows the TV screen. So my guess is we'll probably do it like this, where I can watch the screen and talk to you. And you guys can sort of figure out where online to pull up the debate. And we'll talk. And I doubt we're going to talk much during the debate. We'll probably talk during the breaks and things, but we'll see. We are not in a conflict. We are Roadrunner. We are not close to any conflict with Russia. And if we were, I wouldn't be too worried about it because we would destroy them. And that's why I'm not worried about the conflict with Russia. Part of Russia's game is to basically scare you guys into thinking, oh my God, war, we're about to go to war. And let me put it this way. If you're like, 200 pounds and muscular, and some little guy about this big keeps threatening you with war, what are you going to do? You're certainly not going to be worried about it. That's Russia right now. Russia's about this tall. They have nuclear weapons, but we've got nuclear weapons too, so useless. Otherwise, they're a weak country. They've got some oil. Their military kind of sucks, as you've seen in Ukraine. They got a big military, but it sucks. They're just kind of a third-rate country in many ways, in terms of certainly militarily and economically. Not afraid of war with Russia. I don't want war with Russia. It would suck. A lot of people would die on both sides, but we would win. If they use nukes, we would literally wipe them off the map. So again, they're not going to use nukes. And if we do conventional war, Russia will be destroyed by NATO in a conventional war. I do not want war with Russia. I do not fear war with Russia. And the way to avoid war with Russia is not to fear it. Because the one thing the Russians will do is if they think we're so scared of war, we'll do anything, Mr. Putin. Please don't go to war with us, right? Then Putin will go, okay, good. I'm going to take a little bit of Poland. I'm going to take some of the Baltic states. And, you're afraid of going to war with me. So if you don't go to war, that's great. But I'm going to take a bunch of chunks of your countries now because I know you're afraid of going to war with me. That's how it happens. So, I have zero fear of Putin. They're threatening. I don't even report the stories now. Somebody had mentioned on Discord today, or maybe the last couple of days, I responded about the new nuclear threats and stuff. Again, guys, it's literally like I've got a gun and you've got a gun, and we're pointing the guns at each other. Or even better, I'm trying to think of like analogies that work here. Me and my brother both have guns. My brother and I both have guns. And we're both pointing our gun at you, and you're pointing your gun at me. And you keep saying, John, I'm going to shoot you. And my brother keeps going, well, I'm going to shoot you if you shoot John. It's not going to happen. You're not an idiot, right? Assuming you don't want to die. The Russians don't want to die. Anyway, stop worrying about the Russians. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Well, the Russians ain't shit without the gun. That's true. America is. America and Europe. We've got the economy. We've got the culture. We've got the world influence. We've got the military. The Russians have got nukes. That's it. They have nothing else. Nothing else. So anyway, so yes, we'll be watching the debate tomorrow night for paid subscribers starting at 9 o'clock. Actually, I'll probably start half an hour early. I think I set it up on YouTube to start half an hour before the debate. So 8:30 Eastern time US, 7:30 Central time, Chicago time. Okay. Yeah, it's hard to explain with a grenade. It's hard to give an example. Bottom line is, forget the examples. Russia has nuclear weapons. We have nuclear weapons. Russia fires its nuclear weapons. Our nuclear weapons will wipe them from the map. Nobody wants it to happen, especially they don't want it to happen. They're never going to touch us. But they want you to think they are, and they're going to keep going. Anyway, new poll today. Let's talk about the election first, then we'll move on to Ukraine. New poll. Bottom line, guys, the election's still tied. All the polls are showing it. Thank you, Nicola. Nationally, they're tied. In the key states, they're pretty much tied. As I've explained to you guys, I'm not going to go through the whole explanation again, but basically in America, you've got to win certain key states in order to win the presidency. Thank you, Lizzie. It's not enough just to win the popular vote. So when people look at national polls and say, oh, Kamala Harris is ahead 1 or 2 points, yay, that doesn't matter. Hillary was ahead 2 points. Hillary Clinton won the election against Donald Trump by 2 percentage points back in 2016. She lost. Hillary Clinton beat Donald Trump by 3 million votes. She lost because the American election system is totally screwed up. So anyway, bottom line is they're both pretty much tied. There is a bit of a bias in our screwed up system towards Republicans. So even when Democrats are tied or even 2 or 3 points ahead nationally, Democrats can lose the election because it's just our system is so screwed up. Thank you, Running, for the gift there. So just keep that in mind. I think the reason I keep giving you guys the national polls are even the local polls, because you need to see how much better Kamala Harris is doing than Joe Biden was. Joe Biden was doing terrible. Joe Biden was losing to Trump. Harris is tied. That's great, but she needs to do better. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Macab. I'm sort of summarizing the polling stuff I've got for you. I may go through the details, but to summarize it, interesting sort of other observation I saw today was, thank you, Maddie. Thank you, Maddie, again, was that Harris had a big surge. So, it was like Trump and Biden. Biden was down here. Harris comes in. She has a big surge that catches her up with Trump. The problem is she's kind of tied with Trump now and she's leveled off. I'm trying to think, who was it? I've got one of them, Politico. I think Politico kind of said that her momentum has arrested, but she's still doing really well, meaning she's super popular, generally speaking, more popular than Biden. She's tied with Trump. She had a great upswing, but now it's kind of leveling off. And now they're finding both candidates, which I've honestly been saying this for a week or two now, really. Thank you, Snowblade. Thank you, Adventures. That both of them are kind of tied, and it's not getting shaken up. Democratic Convention, ironically, did not give Harris very big of a boost. Thank you, Clink, for subscribing. Did not give a very big boost to Harris, but she got a big boost coming into the Democratic Convention. So they're tied now. It's a very interesting race. Thank you, Kemi, or very scary race, depending how you look at it. Let me give you some more details. This was according to a Politico poll. Politico is a very good publication here in the U.S. for politics. Harris and Trump remain at near parity in strength of support, with about 6 in 10 of each candidate's supporters backing them strongly. Harris's backers continue to support her more strongly than Biden's did earlier this year. So one of the factors you look to at polls or just elections in general. Thank you, Bjorn, for the 5 gifts on TikTok, on YouTube. Excellent. So you guys just got a free gift for the month from Bjorn on YouTube. Andre, Aya, Marjorie, Lynn, and Niklas Peterson. That means you can join our show tomorrow night on YouTube to watch the debate together. Again, it'll be on throughout the whole debate, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock California. And we'll be doing the same thing on TikTok for anybody who's a paid subscriber there. All right, a little bit more here. Oh, yeah. So one of the things you look at isn't just the polls. I mean, I know polls aren't always right, but I still think they're interesting to see. For example, Biden was really low. Harris is high in all the polls, meaning she clearly is doing better than Biden, and that's important because that's what we wanted, right? Thank you, Piz Dolis. What we don't know is whether she's going to beat Trump. That's still an issue. Enthusiasm. The candidates are very close, but her support is more strong than Biden's was earlier this year, which is good. Meaning, you don't just want to know if people support you, you want to know if they're going to turn out and vote. And that's enthusiasm, right? Like, do they care? People supported Biden, but were they excited to vote for him? No, right? Were they going to give money to his campaign? They probably thought he was going to lose, right? Harris is like, oh my God, A, I'm excited to vote for her. B, I think she can win this. C, maybe I'll give some money. Maybe I'll volunteer my time, right? And maybe I'll tell my friends, hey, this Harris thing, I think she can win. Like, people start talking about it. With Biden, let's face it, some of you maybe, privately, I was telling my friends I thought Biden was going to lose. I mean, right? So all of that creates kind of a momentum with the candidates, and that momentum is really important, as well as simply saying, where are they in the polls? You always want to look at enthusiasm, and what we're seeing is Trump and Harris's voter enthusiasm is pretty much the same, Republican and Democrat. Again, that's good, but it's also kind of bad because it means Harris isn't doing better than Trump. She's tied with him. All right, a little more here. The breakdown, this was in Politico's poll, the breakdown of support demographically is interesting, although not surprising, between Trump and Harris. Gender, men are more likely to prefer Trump, 52% to 46%. The opposite is true for women, big surprise. Black voters continue to overwhelmingly support Harris, 84%. Narrow majorities of Asians, 61%. Hispanics, 57% prefer Harris. A majority of white voters, 56%, prefer Trump. Voters without a bachelor's degree, so voters that didn't go to college, break for Trump, 53 to 44. Voters that have a college degree or more are for Harris, 57 to 41. Voters under 50 are more likely to say they will vote for or lean towards Harris, 54%, than Trump, 44%. While voters age 50 and older back Trump over Harris by a similar margin, 53 to 46. Politico, as I said that Harris's momentum has stopped, but she is still popular. They're looking at 5 key indicators of the election's trajectory. Let me see here. Revisiting those, I'm just going to read you this from Politico. Revisiting those indices with fresh polling in mind, it suggests Harris's momentum has been arrested, but not reversed. This is what I'm saying. Like, Trump was here, she was going up to here, he stopped her, but he's not pushing back. He's not hurting her. He just, excuse me, I should probably say more specifically, either Trump stopped her momentum or Harris's momentum stopped on its own, right? Because Harris, thank you, Denise, Harris, and Tricia, Harris got a big jump in the polls because she joined the race and Democrats were excited. And basically the enthusiasm, she's gotten the extent she can out of the enthusiasm, right? The cake rose only as high as the cake was going to raise based on the ingredients. Doesn't mean Trump is holding it down. She just got what she could out of this bump. Now she's got to get more support by her appearances, by the debate, by everything else. Thank you, K9. I like to give analogies. You know that. My nephew's walking in, so you guys will get a cameo in the background in about 2 seconds here. What else here? More from Politico. Trump had a 2-point lead in a poll the New York Times released on Sunday, but Harris maintains a national lead of 1 to 3 points on average. So, like I said, it's pretty much tied right now. Oh, hey, I'm live, so you're going to see my sister walk by instead of my nephew. Thank you, Sunshine. What else we got here? So this was kind of weird. That was the dog. J.D. Vance is claiming, based on a Facebook post, that Haitian. This is kind of a crazy story. So J.D. Vance is claiming, based on a Facebook post, J.D. Vance is Donald Trump's vice president, right? Thank you, Sunshine. Thank you, Jen, for the gifts. Keep the gifts coming, guys. Keep forgetting to ask you for those, but You support my work with your gifts. That's what pays the bills because I do this full time. So please keep them coming. Thank you guys. JD Vance tweeted today. He's Donald Trump's VP, right? As did Stephen Miller, who's Trump's big campaign strategist guy. They promoted this crazy lie. I mean, it's illustrative though of how they operate, which I think is important. Thank you, Sunshine, and thank you, Kathy. They put out this lie that illegal Haitian immigrants in the state of Ohio are eating dogs and cats. They're stealing because those Haitians, right? They snuck into all these neighborhoods and they're eating all the pets. Well, it's not true. Big surprise, it's not true. The local police came out and said, literally, we have had no reports at all of this. None. Nonetheless, some basically fake Facebook post puts it up there. Elon Musk shares it and says, oh, this will be America under Kamala Harris. Black people will be eating your pets. I mean, really an amazing kind of, quote there. But hello, Sasha. Oh, okay, dog's gonna get upset though. I know. All right. You can't shut the door. She freaks out. Thank you. She's got to have her foot to go in and out.
We can't talk.
Well, you came to my house. What do you want me to do? So, all right, let's keep going here. Jen, thank you, Jen, for the team bracelet. So yeah, it's a total fake. It's a fake of a story, but they're promoting it. Stephen Miller promotes it too, and Elon did too. And that's the thing. But Elon Musk has been doing this a lot. He's been promoting basically all these fake stories, and he usually retweets them and goes like, interesting, could be true. This one he put out there and just said, this will be Kamala Harris's America, where basically black people will be eating your puppies. By the way, the only person who we know of who's been eating dogs, at least, was accused, was Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who endorsed Trump's campaign. So, and we know he likes to eat baby bears too, because he admitted that one. Anyway, Trump this weekend threatened to jail Democrats, anybody who votes against him and anybody who donates to Kamala Harris. He said he's going to consider throwing everybody in jail because it's all a big conspiracy. He did, by the way, importantly, Trump did, by the way, this weekend admit that he did lose the election by I think he said a smidgen. It was some word meaning just a small amount. That was the first time he's admitted that since the election, which was interesting. Going to be also interesting to all the people involved in January 6th that went to jail because Donald Trump told them he won the election, right? And he didn't, but whatever. Iggy, check with the other folks on TikTok and see if in fact my connection is bad or if yours is bad. You might want to try coming out and coming back. Is glitching. Then it does say unstable connection. Yeah. Okay, weird. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. I see TikTok saying that. Yep. Not sure what's doing it. All right, well, hopefully it stays stable. I did say that on TikTok when I go live. YouTube does not give me this, but TikTok will give me a little thing in the corner that says how good the connection is. And as soon as you said that, I looked and it said unstable connection. It's probably not you guys. It's my TikTok connection. Yep, I just saw it. Say bad connection. So I will keep going. Hopefully worst comes to worst, if it really screws up, I can leave and come back, but I doubt that's what's going on. I think it's just my connections being funky. Anyway, yeah, so Elon Musk shared. Actually, I'm going to read you this just because it made me laugh, the tweet, so the Facebook post. So this is a post on Facebook talking about how Haitians are eating your puppies and how Kamala Harris is going to bring more dark Haitian people to eat your puppies. And of course, the whole thing's a lie. Listen to this. Warning to all our beloved pets. First of all, this sounds like it was written by a foreigner. I mean, just reading that first sentence, no American wrote that. No American wrote that. Warning to all about our beloved pets. Beloved pets sounds, I'm a pet owner. It sounds weird to me. And those around us. Okay, that's weird too. Warning to all about our beloved pets and those around us. That's not quite English. I think I'm starting to think this was a troll. My neighbor informed me. Oh, here's my favorite line. My neighbor informed me that her daughter's friend had lost her cat. My neighbor informed me that my daughter's friend had lost a cat. Or no. My neighbor informed me, my neighbor's daughter's friend lost a cat. You get where this story is going. She checked the kennels, asked around. One day she came home from work, and as soon as she stepped out of her car, she looked towards a neighbor's house where Haitians live, of course, because don't we all have Haitians next door, and saw her cat hanging from a branch like you do a deer for butchering. And the Haitians were carving it up to eat. I've been told they are doing this to dogs. They have been doing it at Snyder Park with the ducks and geese, as I was told that last bit by rangers and police, meaning forest rangers and police. Please keep a close eye on these animals. The police were interviewed. There's a big story in the paper today saying it didn't happen. Police said, we've had zero reports of anybody eating cats or dogs. They're desperate. I will also say this, it rings like a Russian propaganda story. What is disturbing is J.D. Vance picked it up and amplified it, and Elon Musk picked it up and amplified it. And Elon wonders why nobody's buying ads on Twitter. So, Anyway, all right, let's switch over to the election news. I did not have a ton of, over to Ukraine. There wasn't a ton of election news, really. Let's switch over to Ukraine. So Sky News reports, actually a number of news outlets reported this weekend that Iran is believed to have sent more than 200 ballistic missiles to Russia, a move security chiefs say would be a dramatic escalation of its defense partnership with Moscow. Now, we've known for a while that, or I should say it's been suspected for a while that Iran has been giving a lot of, not suspected. We know Iran's been giving drones to Russia. And we also concluded that Iran had already been giving missiles. U.S. experts came out this weekend and said the total is around 200 ballistic missiles going to Russia. Now, here's the problem with this. Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Max. I could sort of read you this, but I remember enough from reading the story to fill you in. Thank you, Marsha. And Jane. So the story is that basically Russia has a lot of weapons that can go, some basically good rockets and missiles that can go a good distance. But they've been using those to fire a close, they've been using those kind of all over the place. Close and, you know what? Let me read this. I'm going to make it easier. Okay. I'm trying to explain something that I've got written down, and I might as well just explain it. Yes, Sean Bell at Sky News says this means Russia getting these 200 long-range missiles from Iran. It will mean Russia's limited supply of its own Iskander missiles can now be focused on long-range targets, and that's worrying. So Russia had its own long-range missiles, but they were having to use them against Ukraine really long-range in Ukraine and really close range, right? So they were kind of wasting these missiles in a way by doing them closer. By getting the Iranian missiles, Russia can now use its missiles to go deeper into Ukraine. It no longer has to basically keep some missiles for going closer in. So now they can do a lot more damage further into Ukraine, further into Ukraine's troops, further into Ukraine's economy. It's a big deal. Basically, Iran was banned from selling these missiles under the UN resolution for years. The Russians got involved and basically stopped the United Nations from renewing the ban on Iran so that Russia could then trade with Iran, which is what they're doing. The Ukrainians this weekend, although I don't know whether they will, thank you, Marsha, for the gift. The Ukrainians this weekend claimed that they will be, that was weird, that they will be basically harshly striking against Iran if, in fact, Iran has provided these missiles to Russia. I'm not sure that's true. I'd like it to be true. I suspect that the U.S. would tell Iran, don't do it. Because Biden, is always afraid of escalation. He's going to be afraid of Iran. But if I were the Ukrainians, I would tell the Americans and everybody else, if Iran's doing this, we're sinking their, if we can, we'll hit their planes, we'll hit their ships, and we'll take it out of the sky. Now, again, this wouldn't be a bluff. Thank you, Marcy. This would be more of saying, you know what? If you guys are afraid of getting Iran involved, then you need to stop Iran, and you're not doing it. But if it's Ukraine, you get it. The Ukrainians are also saying, by the way, and you know this, Ukrainians are also asking for longer range weapons from the West and permission to use them. Up until now, the Ukrainians do not have permission from us to use our weapons inside Russia, anything further than a short distance across the border. This is just giving more impetus to Zelensky's call to get those weapons and get permission to use those weapons, and the U.S. and NATO are not giving it. The latest report was we believe the Brits are on board, but the Brits, the Americans basically cajoled the Brits into saying, don't you give Ukraine permission to use your cruise missiles to go farther into Russia. Thank you, Running on Coffee and Courtney. All right, a little bit more here. Okay, yeah, so there's reports of Russia preparing a counteroffensive in Kursk. So Kursk is that territory in northeast. So most of the fighting in Ukraine is happening in the east, okay? Thank you, Wayne. Russia invaded. Thank you, Marsha. Russia invaded, took 17% of Ukraine in the east. And then you go a little bit sort of north of there, northwest, and the Ukrainians went across the border into Russia and stole a big chunk of Russian territory. Now, kind of people have been trying to figure out what the Ukrainians are up to. Why are they doing this? The thought is, and I think this is frankly not stupid, the Ukrainians want to grab some Russian land in order to do two things at least. One, force the Russians to move troops over to that area to take some of the land back. Two, actually there's three reasons at least. Two, weaken Putin. Putin's a dictator. Dictators don't look good when their land gets stolen and they do nothing about it. This is the first time Russia's been invaded since World War II by the Germans back then. It makes Putin look incredibly weak. 3, when it comes time to negotiate with Russia for peace, the Ukrainians now control part of Russia, right? That gives them, assuming they can hold on to it, that gives them a much better bargaining chip to be able to tell the Russians, okay, look, you're occupying our territory. We're occupying your territory. Let's switch. So I think across the board, this was very smart of Ukraine. Oh, I know what I was saying, but there was news today that the Russians were reportedly preparing a counteroffensive in that Kursk region where the Ukrainians are holding onto Russian land. The Ukrainians used reportedly the American HIMARS systems to blow up a lot of the Russian. They've been blowing up bridges for a couple of weeks now, but they blew up more bridges today to stop the Russian troops from being able to basically advance and kick them out. So keep an eye on that. We'll see what happens. Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Aviation. A little more. The Latvians confirmed that an armed Russian Shahed drone crashed in Latvia. You may recall the same thing happened with Romania last week. Ukraine is firing 2 times fewer artillery shells than Russia, its defense chief says, but that's actually a very good thing. Thank you, Andrew, for that. So up until now, we were hearing reports of Ukraine not having enough artillery shells. We were hearing that the Russians had like 5 times or even 10 times as many artillery shells as Ukraine had. And it was causing a problem because the Russians would literally throw 10 times the bombs, in essence, at Ukraine than Ukraine could throw back, at least of artillery shells. Now the factor is 2 to 1, which is great. It would still be better if it's 1 to 1 or better, but that's a lot better than the Ukrainians being 5 to 1 or 10 to 1 behind. A little more here. Germany, I'll say Germany behaving badly. So Germany, that has been Ukraine's certainly biggest donor in Europe in terms of weapons, or certainly a bit in terms of overall numbers of weapons, of dollar amount or euro amount of weapons given, has been Germany. The German chancellor, according to Italy's La Repubblica, is suggesting a peace plan for Ukraine and Russia where Ukraine has to give up some of its land. Obviously, Ukrainians not very happy about that. Thank you, Kim. And a lot of people aren't happy about that. Thank you, Elizabeth, because they think, and I think they're right, that if Putin comes out of this war gaining Ukrainian land, he's going to say the war was worth it, and he's going to consider doing it again. He'll do it again against Ukraine in a few years when he builds his troops up. He may do it again against NATO. He may try to take parts of Poland. He may try to take parts of the Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. So a lot of reasons why a lot of people think any kind of peace with Russia where Ukraine hands land to Russia is a bad idea, because it basically is World War II all over again. You're basically appeasing, the bad guy. We're not going to name him. TikTok gets upset when we name him, but you know who I mean from World War II. He got appeased. He was given land, and he said, this is great. I'm going to keep going. Of course, you know who else did that? The Russians, of course, did that too, because the Russians were his ally in World War II. They don't like to talk about it. Thank you, Larissa, but they were. For the first couple of years, and then finally the Germans attacked the Russians, and the Russians finally went, oh, I guess we're at war with you, our longtime friend. More here. First group of Ukrainian pilots have arrived in Canada for fighter lead-in training so they can be prepared to fight F-16s. I did not even know Canada was doing this, actually. So good job, Canada. Sweden has a new $443 million aid package for Ukraine that includes, among other things, which I thought was interesting, parts for Gripen fighter jets. Now, Sweden is not yet providing fighter jets to Ukraine. They were going to, but, we don't know for sure. It sure looks like it was the U.S. that put the kibosh on it. And the U.S. claimed, well, the Ukrainians are just getting used to flying F-16s. Don't confuse their little brains. This is the kind of attitude I think you get from the Biden administration. Thank you, Marcia, that the Ukrainians, we're going to get overwhelmed if we give them too many fighter jets. So, Sweden, hold off. Let's just give them F-16s first and see how that goes. Well, yeah, smart move, right? God forbid Ukraine had enough weapons to defend itself. The Swedes are giving spare parts for the jets, which suggests, well, one of two things. Either they've already got some jets from the Swedes and they need the spare parts, or more publicly, what Sweden is claiming is they're preparing for the day that they send these jets to Ukraine, and they're getting the spare parts basically built up so they can get sort of a supply, a reservoir of parts available. It's a little weird to me that you would be giving all these parts. Well, okay, I guess it cuts both ways. I would say it's a little weird. Thank you, Kim, for the rock star. It's not totally stupid that if you're going to give fighter jets at some point, you've got to get the infrastructure in place before the fighter jets arrive, right? So you got to have the training done. We know that. You got to have the airfields. You got to have the hangars to hide the planes or protect them or whatever. And you would need the spare parts. for the engineers you're training, the mechanics you're training to be able to basically keep the planes going. So this may not be, I guess my point is, I still think it's very interesting that the Swedes are giving spare parts for a plane they allegedly haven't given the Ukrainians yet, but nonetheless, maybe it's legit. Maybe the planes aren't there yet. And finally, so interesting controversy going on. There's a new Russian documentary, very weird, by this Russian-Canadian filmmaker, Anastasia Trofimova, Trofimova or something like that. And she did a documentary about the war in Ukraine, but from the Russian point of view. Now, first they debuted at the Venice Film Festival last week. It's now going to be showing at the Toronto Film Festival, and the organizers of the festival are under a lot of not pressure. They're facing withering criticism for why they're showing basically what many people fear is a pro-Russian movie. Like, why would you want to show the Russian point of view about the war in Ukraine as far as a documentary, right? Now, what is really annoying, and this is very true, because as Dasha just noted on TikTok, the woman who created the documentary, this Canadian-Russian joint citizen, she used to work for Russia Today. Russia Today, you might be aware, is the super nasty Russian state propaganda organ. It's this, private company that's basically run by the Russian government. It literally, they work for the Russian government. Whether it's officially on the payroll or not, it is an organization created by and basically run by the Russian government. She was a Russian government propagandist. And she's now doing an independent video. She was a Russian government propagandist at RT, which is horrible. They're banned, by the way. They're like banned in Canada. They're so bad. And in the US, they've got to register as foreign agents. They had to shut down that we're to believe that she's going to do an independent video on the war in Ukraine as a former Russian state propagandist. Bullshit, right? It's absolute bullshit. If you are a good Russian, you don't work for Russia Today. Period. If you're a good American, you don't work for Russia Today. There's Americans that work for these guys too. As soon as you find out they've worked for this group, this organization, you go, okay, forget it. These guys they're literally Putin stooges. I'm sorry, I will say no normal person, no objective person works for Russia Today. It's hard to sort of find. It would be like, those of you who are too young may not appreciate this. It would be like during the Cold War working for Pravda in Moscow. Would be what this would be like, right? No normal American or Westerner would say, oh yeah, I want to get into the news business. I think I'll work for Moscow's Pravda, right? During the Cold War. You wouldn't do it. You work for the Soviet. It's like working for the Iranian state media, right? You just wouldn't do it. Any case, all right. That is it for the news. Let's start talking about anything, the election, Ukraine, whatever. We've got ample time today. Well, they embedded... the story's even weirder. She claims, we did it at great personal risk. And then somebody else took a quote that she had done, or her people had done, and put it out there this weekend, where it said, oh yes, the commander came in and welcomed us, and he even gave us some uniforms to wear, some Russian uniforms, so we would fit in with the troops, and they wouldn't, to protect us, so they wouldn't shoot us by accident. Thank you, Jeremy. And it was just like, okay, you were not like secretly crossing the line to film the Russians and show how bad they were. They were literally welcomed by the senior Russian officers. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Sarah, for the gifts. Keep them coming, guys. I don't know, Amanda. That's a very good question. What do you think Kamala Harris needs to do to take a greater lead? The problem is, and I just don't know what this is in the polls, it depends what's holding her back. I don't mean to be obvious about it, but it really does. Is it that voters don't know her well enough yet, right? Which is possible. She was vice president. In America, the job of vice president is to basically sit back and shut up. Really, you're not supposed to upstage the president, other than Dick Cheney doing it to George Bush, and that was by plan, right? Like Bush wanted him to. Vice presidents like this, I always remember, it's like that Homer Simpson thing where he dissolves back into the bushes. They just dissolve back into the bushes. That's how they do it, right? So that's their job. We did not know much about Kamala Harris. She ran last time 4 years ago, I think, or 2019 even. We knew more about her then, but then we forgot, right? So it depends. Is Kamala Harris, she's not stuck. She's tied with Biden, but she's not going up anymore. In order to go up further, does she need to educate people as to who she is? Does she need to fix a bad perception of her? Do people think she's too liberal? Are people afraid, voters afraid she's a woman? She's black? I don't know, that she can't handle it, right? It depends what's holding her back. Now, part of that also depends with who is holding her back. No one thinks you're going to get MAGA supporters to vote for Kamala Harris. Thank you, Ernie. But there's two obvious blocks to start with: independent voters, and then Democrats. Right? Independent voters and Democrats both. You've got smaller segments. Now we talk about this. And it's funny because the Europeans sometimes don't understand why we talk about race and gender in American politics, but it's important here. And they tend to be very strong blocks. So you've got men who tend to support the Republican, women who tend to support the Democrats, right? Latinos who tend to support Democrats, but there's conservative Latinos like Cubans, but also some Mexicans recently in Texas who are starting to support Republicans. So you get into lots of these different subgroups. Blacks tend to support Democrats. You get into a lot of these subgroups. So it really depends where her, and I don't know. I don't want to say she has a problem because she's tied with Trump. She doesn't have a problem. Thank you, Ernie. But those last segments she's trying to get, are they from the Democratic base that she still needs to get those? Like, does she need Black support to be higher? I think from what we're seeing, Black support and Latino support is still kind of low. I mean, it's good, but it's not where it should be, right? Or is it trying to win over independents more? So more of the independents who really don't like Trump, but maybe have either some concern about Kamala Harris or just simply don't know her yet, get to know her better and they feel comfortable with her. Again, I don't know that breakdown, but I think honestly, she needs to get herself out there to people. She's just got to get herself out there. People don't know who she is yet. The debate should help, although debates are funny. I mean, the debate, because the debate's tomorrow night between Harris and Trump, it certainly made a big difference for Biden, right? I mean, Biden had to pull out of the election because of the debate, right? So we know debates can matter. They tend, I would say, I think a lot of times they tend not to matter. What I think is, and you actually saw this with Biden a few weeks ago, right? The debate was 6 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago, whatever it was, that Biden, the press, okay, a lot of us didn't like Biden's debate performance, right? But the press went nuts about it. Oh my God, he's old. Oh my God, he's falling apart. Is he going to drop out? And the press went crazy. You often have a press reaction to the debates that can feed the debate story, like George Bush, the father. So the older George Bush was president. At one point during the debates, he looked at his watch, and it became such a big story because the media kind of went crazy on it, as if he was bored, like he was kind of like looking. Now, I could easily understand during a debate why you'd look at your watch. You look at your watch to see how much time you've got left, right? But it was interpreted as, oh, he's bored, he's looking away, and the media went crazy, and it had an impact on the election. So who knows? I think in Kamala Harris's case, because she is not out there enough yet, because she's a new candidate, so to speak, right? Because up until now it was Biden people were paying attention to. She just needs to get herself out there more. I will say this too. I think, and we want to see more polls of this. I think as people get to know her, they will like her. But that will be interesting in the polling too. I'd like to see not just polling, but focus groups. Focus groups are very interesting. Focus groups are polling overall. And actually, important to say this too, because somebody the other day mentioned polling to me, one of our neighbors, and said, "But how does it work? Like I never get asked." Polling typically is like 1,000 or 2,000 people they poll. It's a whole scientific method that is very confusing. They don't just poll 2,000 random people. They try to figure out, what percentage of the population is Republican, what percent is Democrat, what percent is independent. They try to get sort of certain numbers of each that they poll. It's very complicated, and it's based on a lot of assumptions that can go wrong, such as trying to figure out what percentage of the population is independent. I don't know, right? So polling is a few number of people to start with, so 1,000, 2,000 people. I'm trying to remember what I was talking about that got me thinking of polling as far as explaining to you kind of how it works. There was some second point of that. I don't know if anybody remembers what I was talking about. Otherwise we'll just go on. The focus groups. Yeah. So one part of polling is you interview 1,000, 2,000 people, but you have to pick the right people. And then you've got to run a lot of mathematical analyses that I don't know statistics to get this answer of what do they think on these different issues. Another way of polling, but it's not really polling, are focus groups. And you'll hear people talk about focus groups in politics, which basically means you get a room together of 12 people, maybe 20 people, not too many, and you have a moderator that starts a discussion with them. And you pick the people on purpose. Maybe you try to pick, depending what you're going after, right? Maybe you would do the Black community exclusively, or maybe you would do Black, Latino, woman, independent. Like maybe you get a mix of voters, but you've got something in mind. Like you want to know, what do women really think of Kamala Harris? What do Blacks really think? What do Ohioans really think? What do Pennsylvanians really think? It could be state specific. And A focus group is literally getting a small group of people together, and you just interview them, and you talk to them for hours, and you say, okay, I'm going to read you a quote from Kamala Harris. Tell me in one word how it makes you feel, right? And one man might say confused, another one might say warm or comfortable, right? And then they start a discussion on that. And the idea is, it almost is like polling, but it's much more in depth, and it goes on for hours and hours and hours. So you can sort of start to get a feel, like I said, of what do voters like about Kamala Harris? What don't they like about her? What issues maybe can you win them over on? For example, if you're talking to the focus group and you find out, yeah, a lot of them don't trust her on the economy or something, you could say, well, if I were to tell you that Kamala Harris actually supports this proposal, does this make you feel better about her on the economy? And maybe one woman says, well, yes, it does. And here's why, right? So you start to dig into the voter's psyche. And trust me, I mean, it's important work, and they're really fun. I mean, I've read sort of focus group reports before. They're very interesting. It's sort of a very small slice of society, but it's very interesting. Candace Owens, oh my, why are you asking about her, Harvey? She's a hot mess, as we used to say. And yes, James Earl Jones died today. He was the voice of Darth Vader, among others. Very famous American actor, 93 years old, African-American, but very interesting. In the first three Star Wars movies, he was the voice of Darth Vader, the bad guy. He was not the actor who portrayed it. I don't remember what the explanation was of why, but they picked one guy to be the actor in the suit moving around, and James Earl Jones did the voice. So he did a voiceover, and it was great. He had this very baritone, deep voice, very commanding. But his weight, the weight. Yeah, his height wouldn't be the issue, Ash, was it? It's probably his weight. That's right. He is overweight, or he was overweight. Made it to 93, though. And his voice was awesome. I mean, just an amazing of accent, Did the guy have a Scottish accent, the Vader guy? That's funny. He wasn't tall enough? Oh, that's interesting. Okay. But anyway, amazing actor, appeared in a lot of the early on Clear and Present Danger. What's the author? Help me out, guys. Clancy. Tom Clancy novels. He appeared as the CIA director. The African-American guy who was very big, who was the CIA director. That was James Earl Jones. Really good, right? If I'm not incorrect, I seem to remember the original ones with Harrison Ford. Hunt for Red October, Lion King, a lot of different movies, Anyway, so very sad. He's 6'2", so it wasn't his height. I didn't know he was always overweight, but actually looking at some of the images of him performing in New York back like 1980 or something, he was large back then. So I think he was probably always a large man, Anyway. Yeah, he is. He is a troll. Callum, just get rid of Lucas. Where's my... I don't know where he's hiding. Help. Oh, here he is, the goat. Our troll goat. Thank you, Terry, for the gifts. Keep the gifts coming, guys. You know how this goes. I do this full time, and I appreciate your gifts, your help for TikTok and YouTube. Subscriptions always very welcome as well. We're doing our special show tomorrow night. We'll be watching the election together for paid subscribers. So thank you for that. It won't let you sign into YouTube. That's a good. What did you do to piss off the Google gods, Ashley? Thank you, Tom, for the gifts. Thank you, Chazak, Steven. Thank you, guys. Who is that? Thank you, Chazak, with the goose. I do love that goose. DJ Glasses from Hedge. Thank you. And Cracker, Steven. What else we got? Is there one electoral poll you trust over others? Not really. I will say there are some bad ones like Rasmussen. They're a Republican polling outfit, and they always get it wrong. Do not trust them. And by the way, when looking at polls, because the MAGA people like to sort of, their entire existence is based on calling things lies. Oh, the polls are lies, whatever. Generally speaking, you want the polls to be correct, because quite literally, you and I and others are looking at the polls to get a sense of how the election's going, right? I don't want Democratic pollsters lying to me about how the election's doing, because if they say we're doing well, then I would think, okay, we're doing well. I don't have to worry about it, right? You literally want pollsters to tell you the truth. Rasmussen is sort of unique in that they're just a very bad Republican pollster, that their polls are always crazy, crazy Republicans. So do not pay attention to them. What I think you should look at, I mean, there's a number of groups that are good. Pew is very good. Quinnipiac, which is hard to spell with a Quia, but look at the poll of polls. And some of that I talked about today. Look at New York Times, although they do their own polls, but look at the big publications and look when they talk about poll of polls, meaning they've taken all the recent polls and aggregated them together mathematically to come up with one number. So that if, you've got 10 recent polls and one's off a little north, one's off a little south, right? If you put all of them together, you hope that maybe the error rate sort of diminishes, because you've got them, if one's a little high, the other's a little low, right? So poll the polls are very interesting. Rasmussen might have been good. I don't even remember that now, but they became crazy Republican a good 10, 15 years ago. Remember, I think they were the ones with the skewed polls and all that bullshit. Not just them. Thank you, Katie. Lots of gifts there, and Bryce. So yeah, I think try to look at aggregate polling, poll of polls, as it's called, but also look at the state polls. I mean, you really want to try to get a sense of what's going on in the individual states, because that's super important. Nautier, thank you. That's an interesting name, Business. Thank you for the gift on YouTube. All right, see you, Geeky Panda. Thank you, Inspired Woman, for the cat glasses. DJ glasses, they look like cat glasses, don't they? Oh yeah, did Ashley say something wrong on YouTube and got restricted? I doubt it. Ashley is not the type to really say something wrong on YouTube. Well, I mean, freedom of speech. Brandon says, why isn't it a crime for public servants to deliberately spread misinformation to their constituents? I mean, probably because how do you do it? How do you prove it? I mean, it's the first thing. First of all, we do run into problems with freedom of speech issues in America because we have a very strong sort of constitution about that, although it tends to be about government. But also, it's hard to prove. I mean, does Donald Trump, I think, is a compulsive liar. But sometimes when he says things, do I think he's lying, or do I think he's just stupid or uneducated, right? So you run into that kind of a dilemma where some people I think are just liars. Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk lies a lot. I think he's a little wacky, but I think Elon Musk knows what he's doing. And I think he knows he's promoting disinformation, right? Some other people I think are kind of stupid, and I think they just don't know. And they go, oh my God, this must be true, right? And they repeat it. So that's part of the problem of, like, how would you judge what's a lie and what's just somebody being really stupid or just being wrong, right? You could be wrong. Remember how kids, when you'd say something and you said the kids could have ice cream tonight and then you ran out, and the kids say, you lied. Well, it's not a lie, right? Lying has intent behind it, and it's hard to prove intent. Thank you, Randy, for the gift. Yes, the cat eating. We did talk about the cat eating early on. The J.D. Vance and Trump's campaign are promoting the notion that Haitians have invaded America, illegal Haitians, and they're eating our cats and dogs. And there's literally zero backing it up. They even named the town Springfield, Ohio, taken over by dark Haitians. The town police came out and said, literally, we haven't had a single report of anybody eating a cat or dog. So total lie. But it's what they do. Oh, I'm with you. I mean, the thing is, I think there was a time that politicians would be held responsible, but I think that's now changed with certainly with the Republicans. They don't care anymore. They don't care anymore. Trump lies left and right. They just don't care. They don't care. So is Ukraine continuing to move north? We have not seen any, there's been no news in the last many days of Ukraine actually advancing. If you mean, well, depends what you mean. If you mean across the border of Kursk. Now, there was a drone attack today in northern Ukraine, like near the Belarusian border, like a big Ukrainian drone attack into Russia. Don't know anything yet on how it went, but that did happen too. But I don't know that we had any news about them invading or anything. Colorado, no. I'm not even going to repeat it, Gustav. But yeah, I mean, what is interesting is every election time we get like Fox News, which is the Republican TV station here in America, every election time the same story comes out about caravans of of evil Latino immigrants coming to America and crossing our, like heading, there's thousands of caravans in Mexico. Like these thousands are coming for America. And literally it's like clockwork. Every election, about 2 to 3 months before the election, they start claiming this. And then after the election, they stop claiming it because it's not true. And they don't care, but it's also not true. So we'll probably, that's what we're hearing about immigration. They love to hit on the immigration thing. Right. It's an invasion. It's an invasion, they say. What else we got, guys? My voice is still acting up a little, but I think this is the allergy thing. War on Christmas. That's another one they do every year. Yep. Every campaign season, Christmas is under attack. I think Christmas is doing just fine in America. Thank you very much. We have holiday stuff being sold in the store for a month already. I think Christmas is alive and well. You dumped your coffee on your MacBook. Well, that wasn't very bright of you. Sorry, I hope it didn't ruin it. I think Pete Buttigieg would be a good Secretary of State. I also think he'd be a good UN ambassador, United Nations too. Because also I think it wouldn't be bad for him to get more international experience, but he also seems to have some of it, speaking multiple languages and being very good at it and things like that. So, yeah, Buttigieg I think would be very interesting as United Nations ambassador or Secretary of State. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets one or the other. Pennsylvania, I don't know as of today. I mean, I was looking overall. I don't think I've got any breakdowns today, but I was looking overall, and they were saying that all the battleground states are still within the statistical margin of error, really. Yeah, I don't think I've got any. Let me look here. Yeah, I don't know the breakdown, but the race is extremely this is from Politico. The race is extremely competitive in the battleground states, which are the key states the Democrats and Republicans are both trying to get for the presidency. In 3 major polling averages, Real Clear Politics 538 and Nate Silver's Silver Bulletin, each of which uses different methodologies. Each of the 7 states both campaigns are contesting are within 3 points in either direction. So basically, of the 7 key states they're going after, it's a statistical tie in all of them. So, yeah, I thought that Marge person was a troll. I wasn't quite sure. Thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah, Margo's a troll. I thought so. I was watching. She's like posting errant weird stuff. And I was kind of going, huh? Oh, that's funny. When the screen was off, all of a sudden you heard my voice coming out of your phone. That's either scary or soothing. I don't know which, Ella. Do I think that the Dems should be pouring more money into PA? I don't know. I mean, I just don't know how much money they're putting in already. You know what I mean? And I just don't know enough about like the politics of Pennsylvania. I couldn't tell you. The best laptop. We had a big discussion on that a while ago, Annette. I can't tell you. People were giving me my I'm still holding off on it, but my Mac laptop. Can I explain how estates work? Not really. I'm not sure what you mean by that, K9. I mean, if you mean basically somebody dies and you've got to figure out legally what to do with their possessions, but it's very complicated legally, if that's what you mean. That's what estates are. I'm not sure if that's what you meant. Thank you, Shorty. Thank you, Eileen, Shorty, and Japanese kanji person for the hearts. What else we got? Do I think China will want their land back from Russia? I mean, that'd be pretty funny. Maybe if Russia falls apart, China invades Eastern Russia and the Russian Far East on the Pacific. Oh, thank you, Iggy. Appreciate that. The boneless goose. But short of that, thank you, Ellie. I don't know otherwise. I don't know. Nope, dog is hacking underneath. All right, you. Oop. Sneezing and hacking. All right, there we go. Keynesian or neoclassical. I've studied econ, but not to that degree that I care. I mean, I'm not an economist. Like I said, I like economics and I've studied it, but I don't know enough about economics to say I'm a Keynesian or whatever, you know what I mean? Or Keynesian. Thank you, Ellie, for subscribing. But I could tell, like I said, my voice, I haven't been doing anything to it. And this weekend has been very rough, but I think it's gotta be the air. So air quality or whatever. Cheryl sent this up. Thank you, Cheryl, for sending that. Probably should start. We do have tea here. I don't really like to do tea when it's warm out, but I could probably use some tea. It's gotta be the air quality. Yeah. Terrible. Oh, my back is hanging in there. I did have to take another. I took another muscle relaxant right before the show. So I'm still, I mean, it's improved. It's not, it's slowly getting better, I think, but it usually takes a while. My voice sounds like Canada fires are local. I mean, they're not, but who knows? Although I'm looking out and the sky does look a little gray. Like in DC, when it was this gray, it was typically the fires, sort of the Canadian fire, sleet coming over. Will Republican women actually vote for Kamala when the time comes? I mean, who knows? Women certainly support her more than men. Women support her, men are more for Trump. I will say abortion is going to be a big issue, with women, with it has been the last several elections, and I think it will be this one too. So, we'll see. She's certainly more relatable, than Trump is, which women might appreciate. I did send the TV back. Yes, thank you, DBZ. I did. Thanks to your guys' recommendation. I got it in the day before my 1 month was up. Got the refund. It was easy to return. I kept the box. Very easy. Super easy, actually. Amazon's great that way. Even the UPS or whoever it was that came to pick up the TV called to let me know when they were coming. I was like, wow, that was shocking. Yeah, I don't know if Florida's in play. I see people I see some people saying Florida, who knows, Democrats could win. I see others saying, Democrats are doing better, but they're not convinced. At least I know the last several elections, Democrats felt like they were kind of, the rug was pulled out under them in Florida. Like people got their hopes up and then it was like, it's lost. So I know some Democrats who just feel like Florida is just, a waste of time. Like it's not going to go Democratic, but who knows, What else? Abortions on the ballot in Florida. Well, which becomes, an abortion on the ballot becomes interesting because you always get sort of this issue of if abortion is on the ballot in the fall, does it help bring out the Republican anti-abortion people, or does it help bring out the Democrat pro-choice people, right? It's very interesting. Dashel, we talked about a lot of Ukraine news. You missed that part of the show. Before we did the question and answer here, I did about 15 minutes on Ukraine. I would say there's no big news today, really. Nothing earth-shattering. Thank you, Mikey, for the gift. Yep. All right. There we go. Proving I'm a human being to TikTok. There we go. Hello, Kingen in Sweden. Hey, as you all say, as we say here too. Texas turning blue. Yeah, be fun. Yeah, DeSantis, I'm not surprised. Trying to scare people away from voting. Yep. They're trying to scare basically blacks and Latinos away from voting. How old is even Gen Z? I don't even remember anymore, Marion. How old is Gen Z? Is Gen Z like now 25 to 35, or what are they now? I don't know. We have to look at polls and see. I mean, young people tend not to care as much. They tend not 25, but 25 and up, I'm thinking though, right? 18 to 25, they can't be that young. But is it lower than 25 or is it higher than 25? The Gen Z, typically. 25 and under? I don't know how you get young people to vote, to be honest. I mean, who knows? Millennials 25 and up. I didn't even know millennial went that young. Okay. I don't know. I don't know how you get young people to vote, to be honest. A lot of young people don't really care about politics. And I don't think they're a lot of people aren't informed anyway about politics, generally speaking. 13 to 26. Okay, that's interesting. I should be like a teacher and say, well, Marion, what do you think? Right? The teacher who doesn't know the answer. Well, what do you think we should do to get young people to vote? And I know Marion is now laughing. But yeah, I've never really understood young people as far as getting them out to vote. They just don't. They just typically do. They do. Obama got them out. Social media can certainly help. Sure. Depends what kind of issues they care about. Hey, you. I think the young people, we do find that young people tend to care more about economics, meaning they're worried about jobs, they're worried about inflation. Hey, stop. They're worried about buying a home, renting an apartment. So it's a lot of stop. Oh my God. My dog is whining at me here, but I think she's whining I don't think she has to go out yet. I think she's whining for love. Yulia, has Yulia been disappeared lately? Yulia's our friend in Kyiv. Hopefully not missing. I mean, you would think abortion would be important to young women and young men too, frankly. I mean, it always kind of drives me nuts. Stop. How I'm petting my dog as we're talking, trying to get it to calm down. It always gets me when and I was doing some consulting for Planned Parenthood once, and they would always talk about like targeting young women. And I was always like, why don't you go after, like, they would never talk about men. And like, to me, I'm like, well, I think guys are just as worried about women about getting pregnant if they don't want to get pregnant, right? I mean, guys don't want to get a woman. If a guy doesn't want to have a baby, he doesn't really want to get a woman pregnant. Like, that would be terrifying, I think, to guys that that are single and not planning on having kids or getting married. The idea of getting a woman pregnant, you'd be like, holy crap, right? So it always struck me as odd that the groups would always focus on the women, but they would never really I'm telling you, that was my sense of Planned Parenthood. I kept going to Planned Parenthood, talk to the men. Now, maybe the men just don't care. I don't know. It's possible. But stop. But I would think they do, especially young guys. You think young guys telling them, by the way, the Republicans want to make you have to have a baby, like no contraception. And if you get a girl pregnant, you're going to keep it and ruin your whole life. Okay. I'm guessing a lot of young guys would be like, I don't like that very much, So will you stop? Oh my God, she's begging, but my dog is in perma beg mode now, where all day long she's begging for treats. This is probably her begging for me to brush her, because when I brush her teeth, then she gets a treat afterwards. So I think that's what we're doing right now. Here in New Zealand, Frank says young people tend to vote green, 12%. Yeah, in the U.S. we don't have a real green party, though. It's not a real party. It's a party of cuckoos. So I don't even know what MRA is. What is that? Beep, 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 beep. What else we got, guys? What else we got here? Anything else we'd like? Thank you, Randy, for the gifts. Your grandmother watches Fox News from morning to night. Well, guess who she's voting for? Maybe. I mean, maybe. There's always a chance. Always a chance. Oh my God, she's literally sitting here like at my feet laying down, but still making whining noises, my dog. Oh my God. The Canadian Film Festival thing. Yes, I've talked about a first issue I talked about on the show was, or not first, the first issue on the sort of Ukraine part, the fact that there's a Russian Canadian film producer or whatever that did a documentary about the Russian perspective on the war. But no one's talking about the fact that she actually used to work for RT, which is the Russian propaganda organ. So Sasha, stop. Jesus Christ. No, she doesn't like to get picked up. She's a Yorkie Bichon. Very cute little dog, but she hates being picked up. So if I try to pick her up, she's going to go, get in here, get in here, get in there. All right. She's climbing back into bed beneath me. That'll give me a few minutes at least until we finish. Yes, I can pick her up, but she doesn't like it. Yeah. But no, now she's in the bed, and I think she wants her treat. She wants me to. I brush her teeth this time of night, and she gets a little treat, so she's trying to kind of, 55% of Floridians will vote yes to expand abortion rights. That's interesting. Yeah, the abortion issue is interesting because depending on the state and depending on the issue, you never quite know if you're motivating Republicans to go vote, or motivating Democrats to go vote. But I think taking rights away, well, it depends. It depends. I mean, again, you get into this debate amongst yourself of, are you able to motivate people more, like Democrats? Are Democrats able to motivate women more to vote by Republicans taking abortion away, taking the right away, or by Democrats expanding the right to an abortion? Like, so which one is it? Does the positive news get people out more, or does the negative news? Nope. And now I think my nephew's coming in. So, hello. Yay. Trainer, yay. All right. Thank you, Brandon. What else, guys? We'll do another minute or two, and then we'll go, since my voice is being evil. I am not doing friends on Discord, but my username is Aravosis, my last name. But I've been doing friends just because I wasn't quite sure what that does on Discord. So I haven't been friending people. I feel okay. I mean, well, my back is weird, but and it also maybe the muscle relaxant is doing this to my voice too. I have no idea. You know, people are generally pro-abortion in the U.S. Yes, the polls have consistently shown that Americans are pretty pro-abortion. Yeah, yeah. It is definitely a minority view to restrict abortion rights beyond a degree. I mean, I think very few Americans are like for abortion up until, you know, the 9 months or whatever. But generally speaking, Americans tend to be pro-choice. Yes. Oh, that's what it does, Ash? Okay, I never realized that, actually. Okay, that's interesting. Look at you, Ashley, our tech guru. That's usually a syndicate question. Maybe one more question or comment, guys, then we'll go. Deep Red Oklahoma voted to put abortion rights in the Constitution. Well, I mean, in the last couple of years, we have seen almost every election, but a lot of them have been smaller elections, where abortion played a huge role, and it was a hugely pro-Democratic Party, anti-Republican Party role in the election. So that's what's going to be interesting this fall, is to see what, if anything, role it plays in the presidential race. You know? All right, dog. I hear you. We're going to go. All right, guys. I'm going to call it quits. We got 10 after, only because my voice is being really weird. Remember, tomorrow night, we've got our coffee talk hangout to watch the debate with the paid subscribers. So that's everybody on TikTok that has SNN next to your name. It either means you paid or you got a free gift membership for a month from somebody else that the computer gave you. Debate. Maybe did I say debate? I don't know if I said that. But the debate tomorrow night between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, we'll be watching it together. Also, the paid subscribers on YouTube, same story. Any of you with a green name, like Frank, Annette, etc., you guys will be joining us. Thank you, user. And you can always pay at the last minute too if you want. Come in a pay-per-view. That's what we should call it. We're doing a pay-per-view, but it won't be me fighting. It'll be Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. But we'll hang out and talk about it and see kind of how it goes. All right, guys. I am going to go. I'm going to go relax my voice a little bit. It starts at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, U.S., 8 o'clock Chicago, 6 o'clock California. So, all right. And you guys can Google, 9 o'clock New York City time. Basically, if you're in Europe, you can figure out the difference there. All right, dog needs to go out. I can tell she's going back and forth. Okay, we'll go. All right, see you guys. Have a good night. Oops. I can tell.